Hello. The last talk of the day, so I want to take the mood down a bit. So a bit more thinking about what we're doing here. Not too technical today, no sales pitch. I just want to talk about how the wheel is spinning, but the hamster seems to be dead. There seems to be a lot of innovation, but we seem to be not in control of it anymore. And we seem to be running in circles without moving further. But first of all, I just want to say hi. Good to see you here. How are you? I see that after a full day of great talks and meeting people who are like you, things are just great. You probably feel inspired, fascinated, excited, hopeful, and a bit overwhelmed. So many things to think about today, so many cool things to play with. Will I have time to do that? Can I tell my boss that we should use that? Can I use it in production? Is everything really as broken as people say it is? Or are there things that apply to me? And I think if you feel all of these things, then hold on to this feeling. Embrace it, keep it, make it yours. Don't go back to the other mode that is quite common these days, where we feel a bit uneasy about our jobs. Because we are in an environment where we're actually well paid. There's more job offers than people out there, and that's unique in our market. That is ridiculously unique. Everybody else is worried about their jobs, worried about their salaries, and we have like 500 email lists complaining that there's only 50 free snacks in the office. And it just drives me crazy. So don't go back to that mode that when you go home from a conference like this and you see people like me and you see people like Andy and intelligent people and beautiful people, well not really, but people who know about stuff and seem to be so much further ahead of you, and you go back and you get this feeling like, I don't belong here. Something is kind of wrong. Or you have that feeling of, I'm just not good enough. I'm just doing things and making websites and getting paid for that. I build things that people use, not things that are inspiring. That's just terrible. Or that feeling that you can't contribute anything useful. There's always people like, oh my God, there's these libraries and I would love to use them and I find a bug in it, but I'm not good enough to go to GitHub and file a bug because people will not listen to me. I'm not good enough, I can't contribute. I coach people on public speaking, and everything I hear when I talk to any of you is like, well, I do nothing that people want to hear. I have to learn this stuff. And there's nothing more exciting than sharing a learning experience rather than just going out there and pretending to be the person that knows everything. Don't go to that feeling that you should apologize for not using the newest and coolest. So, oh my God, I write vanilla JavaScript. I'm not using 10 NPM modules and wait for half an hour in the command line before I have a spinning loader that doesn't do anything. You know, by the time, I'm traveling all the time right now, and I'm looking at Hacker News, and I see these JavaScript libraries that everybody is excited about for the first 4 hours when they come out in San Francisco. And I'm on a plane, and I just read through them cached, and then I get home, I go to the conference, I give my talk, and then let's give that cool library that we were talking about a spin, and by then the first blog posts are out, don't use that because it's crap. And I feel like, oh my God, there's so many things I'm missing. I could do so many more things than what I'm doing right now. Do not go there again. Because it happens over and over again. We feel not good enough. We feel not fast enough. We feel like everybody else is better than us. And that is a normal human thing. It's called Imposter Syndrome. We feel like we're just not good enough. Like, why would people listen to us? The main reason why you shouldn't go into that mindset, and I'm not going into that mindset anymore, is that it's all bullshit we tell ourselves. Because we live in a hype-fueled society. We just show off to each other, and our world of web development becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And instead of people using the stuff that we talk about here, we show it off to each other. And instead of fixing somebody else's library where one or two things are missing, we write another library and give it a cool logo and a fancy name. By now you can make a drinking game by typing any word into Google, and if you find something with .js at the end of it, you have to drink. And you have to drink a lot. A lot of the stress we feel is homemade as we drag each other down. We show off to each other, we pretend to be much cleverer than we are, we use long words and we use patterns and we use libraries and this is not You make this spinning cube with videos on each side, but you make it instantiate because we need 500 of those on the page and not one of them. We try to drag each other down by saying this is okay, but this one thing that's missing, I'm going to shine the biggest light on it and make you feel bad. Because I want to feel better because you came up with that and I didn't. We turn engineering into a religion, and that's with all the dogma and the holy wars that it comes with. So this the other day, put problem and coffee into an engineer and get a solution, and sarcasm is the side effect. Ha 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 ha. We're sarcastic assholes. Great. Thank you for all the money you give us that we build things for you. And don't think that anybody could interfere with the engineer because he's a god. He needs coffee and a problem, and then he goes into the corner, doesn't speak to anybody, doesn't wash himself for 3 days, and then he comes up with something amazing. Nobody else could do that. This is what engineering is about. We expect everybody to get pure happiness from coding. I loved that the other day when somebody got some of those, icons or whatever on GitHub. And she's like, here's my GitHub contribution graph. I write code all day. I want to do something different outside of work. And that should be okay. But we compare our graphs to each other. We build, how many GitHub stars does your website have? Just a terrible comparison. It's not even money, it's not even a real currency, but we compare ourselves, our worth, towards each other that way. I'm not saying GitHub is bad, it's lovely, I love GitHub. I actually look at GitHub when I hire people. But I don't necessarily look at your code, but I look at how you talk to other developers on GitHub. How you get a pull request for your thing that you didn't like. How do you react to somebody you didn't like? Do you put that person down? Do you just reject it without any comments? Then I know you're not a team player. I cannot integrate you into a team. You might be the best developer on this planet, but I cannot have you in my team because you're a diva. You're going to burn out within half a year and leave code behind that nobody can maintain. So why would I hire you? There's enough startups that want people like you. We work at a pace that no human should work in. I see people at the age of 23 being burned out. And they have lots of money, they never have time to spend it because they spend 20 hours in the office. And they're not happy, they're not excited, they just feel, oh God, I gotta keep up this pace or I will fall behind and I'll be homeless in a ditch in 2 weeks' time. And it's all bullshit. There's so much work to do and there's so much work to be fixed on the web, and we have the talents to do that. We think that the technical innovation will make a better world for humans. There's this TV show called Silicon Valley, and I can't watch it because I know too many people who are exactly like that TV show. It doesn't look like a satire to me. And one of the running gags is that they say we're going to make the world better with an optimized RDS database or something like that, or with a cloud solution. And we always want to change the world to make it better, and we think that computers and programming makes for a better world for humans. There's a wonderful video called Humans Need Not Apply. 15-minute watch by CBG Gray. It's incredible. It actually shows us how we automated the industry, the heavy industry, the car industry, how we automated farming, and we made all these jobs obsolete. And we're thinking, because we're writing that code, we cannot be made obsolete. And we can. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Computers and automation and automated machinery will take over, and we will not be the people in charge of them, and we are actually optimizing ourselves out of a need. Now, if it's going to be Star Trek, where we don't need any money any longer, and we're just happy with each other, and we're just all in love and playing, great. If not, there's going to be a lot of people out of work, and only a few people are going to produce more things than we really need. We automated in the past because we didn't have enough things. Nowadays, most automation is to create abundance and make things cheaper, and a lot of stuff gets thrown away afterwards. We celebrate our social inaptitude in our hiring and training. This was a picture that got around the web 1993, 1994, 1995 on IRC. It's called your brutal release party or something. And then you just put hipster beards and stuff on them and they look like the kids nowadays. There's not much difference there. I think my favorite is the FizzBuzz test. It's an interview question designed to help filter out the 99.5% of programming job candidates who can't seem to program their way out of a wet paperback. Write a program that prints the numbers from 1 to 100, but for multiples of 3, print fizz instead of the number, and for the multiples of 5, buzz. For numbers which are multiples of both 3 and 5, prime fizz buzz. I get these questions in interviews like, how many piano tuners are there in New York? Why are manhole covers round? How many golf balls fit into a school bus? And it's mental masturbation. It's actually showing off to each other with hypothetical tests that breeds programmers that never want to build an interface and never touch an interface. And to me, computing is all about bringing content to people and allowing people to write content and bring it to other people. It's a communication means. And the arrogance of saying like that one test can get 99.5% out of it. And that's like from hardcore programmers. That's from people that come from C++, Java, these kind of things. And then of course that gives a lashback from the people who don't see them as developers. So somebody did that FizzBuzz in CSS the other day, or in SCSS in this case. Oh look, I can do this really cool programming task in CSS and I make an interview question in CSS now. Why the hell would you do that? CSS is meant to allow us to build beautiful interfaces with. It's not there to replace C++ or Java. It's not meant to give the mindset of the robotic human that puts something out for people that are also robotic humans and just look at it to see errors and complain about Stack Overflow to you. We complain about a lack of diversity and inviting environments. Like everybody's like, oh, we need more women in IT, we need more people of color in IT, we need more transgender people in IT, dolphins, whatever, whoever wants to be a programmer should become better and should become inviting. And then we have interview questions like that. And how do we solve these problems? We do hackathons and hack days around diversity. Like, oh yeah, you want to come and code with us to learn about how coding could be inviting? Kind of a loop there that I don't quite understand, you know? It's like, oh, we're sitting in the office at 9 o'clock at night. You want to join us because that's what your future is going to be? We teach working for a high-fidelity medium, which is the internet, using hypothetical examples. I love that tweet there. Only in math problems can you buy 60 cantaloupes and no one asks you what the hell is wrong with you. And we have these in interview questions all the time. We don't ask people like, what do you think somebody from a country like this expects of the internet? How would you make this available for somebody who's colorblind? How would you build this interface so it allows for 20 different languages? These questions we never hear. We just hear the simple ones. Be like, make a for loop, make a leaf sorting algorithm, write a Sudoku validator on the whiteboard. I once had that one as an interview question, just walked out. You say, yeah, I'm not working with whiteboards and write code on it. We have an overwhelming amount of resources with disagreeing advice. There was a great Medium post, yes, they exist, saying want to learn JavaScript in 2015 and all the cool resources about JavaScript, and then it ended with React and it ended with the other things. I'm like, what does it have to do with it? Hey, you're going into a completely different world. And he's like, well, React was there to get the recruiters excited about my article. And they all say different things. And they all say like, oh, this is great. No, don't do that. That is better. That is the thing to use. Use a transpiler because browsers aren't good enough. And there are so much better ways at our disposal. We still have not, in 2015, come up with a visual aid to teach programming. We send people to the command line back to the 1970s to be effective. There's a great article. It's a learning course called Learnable Programming by Brett Victor from 2012 at warriorgreen.com, which explains, for example, that a for loop is absolutely ridiculously complex, while a while loop is English and makes sense. While something is true, do what's in there, rather than like, while this variable is that and not that, and needs to iterate and that, and so on and so forth. All of these things have little animated videos, visual things. You start programming by painting something. Not like, oh my god, this is how you allocate the memory for your for loop, or this is how you optimize it for that browser that doesn't exist and that user that never looks at your stuff. So celebrate the choices you have and find your way of learning. Don't get disappointed when there is a tutorial that people get excited about. You can't read that thing because it's very complex and written for somebody who comes from academia, and it's something about rotating a circle on a page or something. I love this about teaching math, like use Lego. I use Lego to make people build websites, to explain to them how floating and how Z-index and CSS works. And it's really good to get people out of their mind frame when they come into the training course like, oh God, I'm going to sit at the computer for 5 hours. No, build the website with Lego first. What? Perfect, people loved it. Trusting your ability to learn, and that was a video that broke the internet for me as well, because it's just amazing. This little dog, he's got asked to jump in his arms, and he's like, do I trust this guy? Can I really? And then he jumps in and it gets cuddled, and the second time he comes around, he's like, you know what, I got this. I'm not waiting for that anymore. This is my life now. I love this guy. I will be his dog for the end of his life. I can trust him, he will always catch me. And trust in your ability to learn, because nobody of us is stupid. Even limited people are not stupid, they're just differently intelligent. And nobody is stupid when he doesn't understand what's cool right now. Not everything is doom and gloom and us running out of time. The amount of times I heard that the web is dead and my technology, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, nobody needs anymore, I can count them on my fingers, and I've got 10 of those. And I've done it for 17 years, and every 2 years somebody tells me, your stuff is not important anymore. Maybe not as important, it's true, but it's still important because it's a very resilient and beautiful technology that is distributed worldwide and independent of environment, independent of fancy phone or great tablet. What we experience right now is growing pains. The web is not the cool thing that it was in 1997 when I started. It's not the, oh, we're the rebels against the C++ mainframe programmers. We're like the normal kids now. The web for the millennials is water and electricity. The web is there, offline does not exist. People don't even know what offline is. And for us, like, oh my God, it's the worst thing, like, what do we do now? How do we prevent this? For them, it's not exciting to build things for the web, so okay, let's concentrate on creating something beautiful. Let's concentrate on being craftsmen. Let's not concentrate on being the people that like, oh, do the innovative, cool stuff that breaks in 2 weeks and gets sold for a lot of money. Let's do the gluten-free web that is healthy for everybody else out there. We're feeling threatened by natural evolution and change. Smartphones was a natural evolution, like go from big boxes to laptops to netbooks that nobody needed, to tablets and then smartphones, and it's cool to have a computer in your pocket. And we expected everybody to use their smartphone to be like super effective, to do to-do lists and to do everything we do on normal computers, write like novels on their smartphone, and as if everybody just stands around and takes pictures of themselves. Or chats on a messaging app, because that's innovation. We never had one of those before. There was no ICQ, AOL Messenger, Yahoo Messenger, MSN Messenger. We didn't have these things before. That's the cool stuff now, and HTML stack's not good enough for that. Yes, the web and our technologies need to evolve and catch up with new demands. Not everything we can do is available and possible on a smartphone, mostly because the smartphone browsers suck. And they don't even, some platforms, I'm not going to name names, don't even allow other browsers on them except for the one that it comes with. But we heard that mentioned often today. This doesn't mean that we have to toss away all that we achieved and demanded. Because I remember when HTML5 came out, I was like, oh, if only every browser had that, then I could be very effective. So we always want the new thing, and when we get it, we just already run after the next thing. So let me show you something like that. When I started as a web developer, that's a picture of me in 1997. This was the web. It was all fields. I had a formail.pl, which I downloaded from somewhere and understood what it does. And I wrote HTML forms to allow me to type in a contact name, birthday, back label color, and so on and so forth. It rendered into a form, and when there was an error, I had a list above it saying like, okay, here's the fields that are wrong, please enter them again. And this worked everywhere, like in links, in text browsers, whatever. It was just a pain in the ass to fill out, because every time you missed one of the things, you just had to reload the whole thing. There was a security problem, because you kept typing your content into the pages where it shouldn't be, so if somebody did a curl command towards your form, everything could be hacked that way. Then HTML5 happened, and all of a sudden we had a few new attributes. The required attribute. Who here uses that? Every hand should be up. This is awesome. I put an HTML attribute in there, and if that form field does not get filled in, this form is not going to get submitted. I don't need to worry about the browser submitting it because it will not get through. And then we have new field types with date, color, telephone number, and these are great for mobile because a tel input will switch my keyboard around to the telephone input and not to the normal keyboard where I have to type the little numbers. I get the normal thing that I would do with a dialer. And this is what it looks like. So I have now my contact name and I start typing that in, and okay, this field is filled out, I need to fill it out, otherwise the form doesn't get through. My browser knows my name because I typed it in a few times. I use a date by going up and down rather than just typing a date. I pick a color by picking a color from a rich color picker. I put a telephone number in there, and again the browser remembered my telephone numbers that I entered 60,000 times, so I don't have to type it in again. And my age is a number now, so I don't actually say too old or too young, but it just tells me that, okay, go up and down with your arrow keys to actually put the number in there. Isn't that amazing? We have all this for free in HTML. We have form validation, we have pattern matching. We can write a pattern to a validated required field, saying this needs to be formed like a credit card or something like that. We have automatic filling by browsers. The more I use my browser, the more it knows about me, the easier it is for me to fill out other people's forms. So they don't need to know to store that data somewhere unencrypted in a database and get hacked. This is on my computer, on my mobile phone. I can have it encrypted in the browser when I sign into the browser across different devices, but the browser does this for me. Not we as developers need to store that in JavaScript or in our backend somewhere. I love that about security. I don't want to know your stuff. Don't give me your things because then it's mine to control. Keep your stuff on your machines where you control it. And hi-fi interaction, the color picker, the calendar pickers, all of these things are in there. None of them are proper across browsers and look the same across browsers. So fucking what? The only people that test across different browsers are developers that are asked to test against different browsers. Because why would I do that? I have a browser that I'm controlling, that I use, that I like, that I spend a lot of time in. I don't need another browser. I only go to another browser when something breaks or something doesn't work. So another thing is solving small screen interaction specific issues. I love that this lady is using a mouse to use her mobile phone. And nothing stops her from doing that, it's possible. One of the things are selecting lists. Drop-down lists, selecting your country, or in this case your language, is a pain on a small screen. So I go here and then I have to go through it and I have to start scrolling and going through it. And then you have fun things like when you live in England, like I do, where you have like Great Britain, England, United Kingdom, or sometimes localized to the country that you're in at the moment where you don't even know what the name for England is. It's just not fun to pick things from long lists. The fun thing though is that if you become a power user like I do and I tab through pages, you realize that you can actually type the first character of an element as well. You don't have to use your mouse to scroll through a select list. You can just type the first characters and keep typing, and it's automatically finding the first one that matches it. It just does the matching from the beginning, and then you can use the cursor up, cursor down, rather than using your mouse and trying to fiddle with it on a touch screen. All these things work, but you only learn them when you start using a browser more and when you're becoming a power user of the browser that you control. In HTML5, we got a data list element as well. Data list element is overriding the input element. So I've got an input element here with the list language sources, and data list has an ID of language sources. And when I'm typing something here right now, I get a full autocomplete. I don't need jQuery and 10,000 other libraries for that. The browser has this built in for me. And I can type in now and it finds the letter sequence in the beginning, at the end, or at the front of the word. And that's amazing. What about browsers that don't support that? Because we made it fall back. So it's just an input element. So if browsers don't understand data lists at all, I can just type in whatever. But that's not fun, because you have, for example, American states and Massachusetts, you never remember how many S's go where. So you want to have an autocomplete on that one. Then you go into understanding how HTML parsing works. And this is a great example for that. But Jeremy Keys came up with that one. And you put a data list in your page and a select element inside. And then a div is saying if other specified. And instead of having the input element up front, you put the input element at the end of that construct. So what does that mean? HTML browsers get the data list functionality because according to the HTML5 specification, inside data list, the only thing that is allowed in there is an option element. So the select and the div for a proper browser, an HTML5 browser, don't exist. That's okay, we have a data list attribute, we give you the autocomplete functionality. And that way, when you start using that, you get the interactivity and you get the normal autocomplete that we expect from a browser nowadays to give us. Browsers that don't support it, they don't, and I only had to write an illegal element because I couldn't even find a browser anymore that didn't support it. They don't understand data lists and they don't understand the listing, so they get a drop-down box where you can do the typing, or if it's not part of it, then you can just type it in there and you don't even have to select it from the whole list. So you give the best of breed to all the browsers out there just by understanding how HTML works. And so many people don't do that anymore because we get told, oh, the DOM is slow and HTML is terrible. We need to have these MVC framework to build cool stuff with. All this is possible because of the fault-tolerant nature of HTML and CSS. And other people talked about that before today. HTML finds something it doesn't understand, probably a div. I'll show you what's in there. You know, CSS goes through it like, well, you probably messed that one up. I go to the next line and see if you have something beautiful for me there. You have a prefix in that. That's not the browser that has that prefix, so I'm not going to render this selector. Excellent. And that's cool. That's the resilience that Andy talked about that the web has. We demanded this not to go away in the past. When XHTML2 was a thing, we said, okay, everything has to be XML compliant. The web has to be perfect documents, and if there's one unencoded ampersand in there, you got this yellow screen of death that basically said, like, oh, there's an XML error. And end users would freak out over this. They would just say, like, what's going on? What did I do wrong? They are punished for our mistakes. So we said, that's not possible, let's not do that. So we came up with HTML5 and a more lenient parser that says, like, if there's an ampersand not encoded, you know, like, I just see whatever I can do with that. I close p tags for you, these kind of things. And yet we forfeit this feature every single day for cool, high-rich JavaScript environments that can fail in any way possible. And Andy pointed that out, that it could be a proxy problem. One single JavaScript error and the browser says, God, I'm on fire, I want to go outside, everything is terrible, I'm not going to give you anything anymore. We celebrate solutions that are pretty much unreliable. We celebrate them every single day because we wrote a JavaScript library that makes everything easier for us, and makes every browser the same. Guess what? That's a shit idea. Terrible browsers should be terrible, and people should have a bad experience using them, because then they have a chance of upgrading to a proper browser. Internet Explorer 6 is dead. It's retired. It should be in the park playing with other browsers. It should not get any animations because it gets sick of it. You don't go up to an old person and say, like, let's do some CrossFit, come on. We don't do that, but we do it with browsers. We give it animations. We try to put 3D animations inside Internet Explorer 6. No. Why do we do this? The answer is simple. We feel that we need to be in control. The whole thing that the browser does something for me feels weird for somebody who comes from proper programming, where you give instructions and the computer does the thing that you do. Whereas, like, as a web developer, I know I have no control over what's going on there. The user can change the font size, they can use a terrible browser, they could be in an internet cafe on 2 tins and a wire. They can control the interface. The interface is not mine to control, but for most developers that is anathema. That's a terrible feeling. We need to control every single thing. That's why people do post CSS now, where you do JavaScript to write CSS. To have like an object for every JavaScript selector, and you're like, okay, I've got frames per second control over the animation now. Great. With JavaScript, we're in control, we can fix almost anything. Anything can be done with JavaScript. I'm quite sure there's no use case of this planet that cannot be done with JavaScript. Okay, curing cancer, maybe not, but give it time. we do everything with JavaScript because it's our hammer. It's like it's a programming language. We have full control over the objects, over the methods. We can do things frames per second, and we have milliseconds and all kinds of things going on there. The problem is that with us in control, we also have to maintain it and be responsible for the outcome. If you rely on the browser to give you an input type date, to give you a pop-up calendar, cool. If the pop-up calendar is not supported, it's just an input field. You can type in the date. That's not hard to do. You have to validate on the server side anyways. But with us in control, we build stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, make it available for people in wheelchairs. Very sporty people in wheelchairs. But it's available for people in wheelchairs now. And we're in control of that thing, rather than just having a rant from the very beginning. We give up all the beautiful and important things that browsers already do for us, and we run in loops, reinventing what is already in the browser, because then we can change the background color. Then we can put Comic Sans Serif as the font in it, because that's what everybody wants. And for the sake of developer convenience and the perceived chance of control, developer convenience is a big thing. Like when people are, oh, you type 15 characters to get this background color, I can do it in 2. After I install a preprocessor and 50 megabyte of NPMs and all these kind of things. It's much easier for me as a developer. Guess what? We're doing a job. We're getting paid to do a job. So writing more code, that's not really paying. We get money for that. Other people have to clean out dishes and actually take our trash away and stuff like that, get paid for that. Work should hurt a bit. So we actually realize when work is over, we have a fun time after that. If we make it too convenient for us as developers, we never realize when we're out of work or when work time is over. That's why we burn out. I'm not saying not to use JavaScript, far from it. JavaScript is a wonderful language. I've written 8 books about it. I'm fully sold on JavaScript. It's the most flexible and most forgiving and beautiful language for the web that is out there. And Andy showed a few things that make total sense. Relying on a font to be loaded and blocking the page until it's not there is a stupid idea. Loading the font with JavaScript so you can control when it's loaded, excellent. That's the kind of control that makes sense because it's a nice to have. The page looks good in Arial or Helvetica. It doesn't have to have your fancy font with like trolls in it or something. It works okay with it. So if it's something that is nice to have, use JavaScript because then you can test if it really can be supported and only load it and show it when it's needed, rather than rely on it and tell people to upgrade their browser. I beg of you though to consider what you do and stop relying on magical solutions. When something tells you like this makes it work across all browsers without you having to think about it, call bullshit. Because there's a new browser out every 2 months and these libraries don't get updated sadly enough and they make my life hell. Because the web is a mess. The average web page creeps up to 2 megabytes with hundreds of dependencies. The iPad professional website on a Retina display was 36 megabyte and 614 HTTP requests, as if we hadn't done any performance talks in the last 8 years at all. And people don't complain, it looks shiny, you know? And how can the web be a page 2 megabyte? A page, not even a site, a page, a single thing, the first thing that loads. How can this come across? And it's just because people put magical solution upon magical solution and then don't know how to implement them, don't want to feel stupid, don't ask anybody about it, and just roll it out, hope nobody realizes what's going on there. Outdated frameworks and helper libraries hinder browser interoperability. All my job right now is about interoperability, making it unnecessary for you to install 15 browsers on your computer just to make a website. You should not have to do this. You should have to write HTML, CSS, and the browser will do the work for you. That's what browsers are for. And when you rely on WebKit prefixes, when you rely on like hacks like a translate Z0 to make Safari on iOS not suck, then I have a problem with that. If it also gets sent to browsers that don't suck, because we can fix whatever in the browser then, we can still get code that makes the browser perform badly. And a lot of times people scan websites and find errors in them, and it's not them coding them, it's just a magical library that they used 8 years ago and put on the web. And when we tell them like, oh, can you fix that library, and we look at the GitHub repository, that library hasn't been maintained in 4 years. So the only way to fix that would be to rewrite that library, which nobody does. That's why we have lots of crap on the web. By trying to control the web, we created parallel solutions for desktop and mobile, each of which disappointing. The amount of times when you do a touch handler, we had this problem that we have tablets and computers in one. So they have touch, mouse, and keyboard. So we say, okay, we support touch, but as soon as you say we support touch on a Retina display or like a high-resolution display on a Surface 3, I would get the iPhone 1 interface. Because people say, if touch in window, then it's obviously an iPhone, and they give you that beautiful design from 2003 or something. But we have that. People sniff browsers, and it's a terrible idea. So when you go out tonight and you want to download something, you want to use it behind the firewall in your office or there's a site scan page that we maintain. Enter your URL in there, and it will tell you what kind of things are there for only terrible, outdated browsers. What mistakes you make in terms of accessibility, in terms of performance, in terms of what the page does wrong. And a lot of it will be from libraries that you use and you didn't even realize that that's a problem. We have ES6, I normally give ES6 talks, that's the new JavaScript. And we have to rename a few methods in ES6 because WooTools in an old version have these methods already. So we will override what WooTools does and break the WooTools interaction. So we cannot break the web, so we have to rename some methods inside ES6 to less understandable method names, just to not break the web, and that's just terrible. But that's a beautiful, beautiful tool to find out what the single thing is that you can fix. So when you feel bad about reading Hacker News and not using the newest library, go there, scan that, fix something. It's a beautiful feeling to delete old code and to fix something that's broken. It's like cleaning up your house and finding things you forgot for years. Like, oh my god, I had 2 pair of socks. These kind of things. The web is worldwide, and we're getting frustrated. The web is worldwide, and we're getting frustrated from not delivering what the Silicon Valley wants. Everything in right now, Silicon Valley is the most important thing. And the web is everywhere. So let's think about that a bit. The hype is moving away from web towards more controlled environments. The success of the iPhone and iOS is not that it's technically better. It is technically better, it's technically great, it's a wonderful technology. But it also controls the hardware, the software, and the distribution model. That's like building Ferraris. These are great for rich people that want to have one Ferrari and want to have the color seats of different colors and things like that. But going to a supermarket with them and shopping is not that good. So these are like, for one use case, one piece of hardware in that moment of time, it's the best solution. Trying to mimic that on the web is completely useless because the web can't compete. The nature of the web is to be fluid, to give everybody the best possible experience, not the one experience to rule them all. So the nature of the web, comparing to native, is a very, very stupid mistake to make because you cannot win this, and you should not have to win this because you don't want to maintain it for iOS, for Android, for Tizen, for 10,000 other platforms that might come tomorrow with like IoT. Let's not even think about that one yet. Bruce Lawson gave a great talk at State of the Browser about the next users, about the web, a billion people in countries like Bangladesh and India and Africa, and he showed the numbers of where the growth is happening right now. And it's not in America, it's in those countries. The opportunities there are huge. And the interesting thing is that most people in these countries right now, until they get in connectivity, and you in Romania are spoiled about connectivity, with your 4 gigabits everywhere. Anyway, in these countries connectivity is bad, so people use proxy browsers. Browsers that take your JavaScript, HTML, and CSS and turn it into a single compressed mess and bring it down to their computer. So your MVC framework of 3 megabytes would never reach those users. An HTML page that uses what browsers can do, like the HTML5 stuff that I showed, will get to those users and will get you into the market as the first person rather than like the cool kid that does things that almost look like native but don't really work that way. We're addicted to making things generic. Like, oh my god, I wrote this thing that's really cool, let's turn it into a framework and an NPM module and give it a logo and t-shirts and whatever, and then 2 weeks later let's do the next thing and make it generic. Stop writing generic code. Write clean code that is properly documented. little bits and bobs that can be shifted around and reused by other people and understood by other people, rather than being the one MVC framework to help them, if only they understand the syntax that you came up with, because obviously a W3C agreeing on a standard for 20 years cannot be as clever as you are. Releasing open source solutions is not releasing free code and hoping people to fix and maintain them for you. A lot of companies think that, like, oh my god, we release it open source, now we get free engineers, this is amazing. Remy Sharp, who runs JSBin, has a great blog post series right now, a very terrible blog post series, how he talks to you, how he almost lost any faith in humanity about developers, and how he wanted to give up the thing that he really loved to build because of all the bad feedback he got, all the barriers that he ran into, all the issues that he found. So think about releasing the next framework to rule them all, because you're going to subscribe for the next 15 years to answer stupid emails and to help people out with their problems. Because you said it's generic, everybody can use it, it solves all problems for people. Open source and the web is free as in puppy. It's beautiful, it's fun to play with, it's great to have, but you also have to feed it, you have to clean its poop up, and you have to make sure it doesn't bite other people, and you have to train it properly. And it's open source software is the same as a puppy in this case. The web is a gift to us all, and we can contribute in many ways. And all of us playing on the bleeding edge is missing the point. You don't have to innovate the next way to make the web better. You don't have to innovate the way to make font loading smooth as possible. You can if you want to, but you also could just build things that people use. You know, the people that click ads, not the ones that block them. You know, the ones that pay us for doing our jobs. Just be along for the ride. This is in London, Zero Meridian. By the time you have read this, the Earth will have spun you 1,450 meters, and you cannot do anything about it, and you're just part of the ride. And it's fun, because you don't fall off because it spins. If others would fall off and suffocate in space, it's not as much fun. Sometimes not controlling things is actually when the fun starts. And relying on browser makers to make browsers better is probably better than you inventing things to work against what browsers are doing wrong. I love Bill Watterson and Calvin Hobbes, and there's this wonderful quote by him, like, we all have different desires and needs, but if we don't discover what we want from ourselves and what we stand for, we will live passively and unfulfilled. So stop being passive and be active. Improve your basic skills. Catch up on what's possible. Required attribute. Go to caniuse.com, shows you all the browsers that are out there, look for everything that's green and start playing with that, and start doing cool stuff with that. Start helping people who are not up to date. You start teaching and you end up learning. Go to product managers and show them what browsers can do right now, because they write these job descriptions that support IE5 and say, oh, there's many users use those. No, they don't exist any longer. They're just in cache points and stuff like that. They have like IE5. Report problems, demand support for basic features, not only for the hot, new, half-baked ones. Right now, Microsoft Edge is 2 months old, 3 months old or something. Everybody asks us to do exactly what Chrome does right now. The experimental thing from Chrome yesterday, why isn't that in Edge yet? Edge still has a lot of things that should be in there, that are not in there, of basic HTML5 features. Please help me to get these features in there, instead of just asking for the next leading edge thing. Microsoft has one problem. Whatever we release, we have to support for the next 20 years. So experimental technology for 20 years is not going to happen. So a lot of the things, we have to wait a bit until they're more stable before we put them into our browsers, because we don't want to break the web, and we don't want to break the enterprise customers. Reach out beyond the echo chamber if you want to reach people who need the knowledge you have. You will go out today and you probably will find people who are cleverer than you. But you will also find people who haven't been here and want to hear what you heard about today. So talk to those people and share that excitement. Share that first feeling we had when we started this talk today. And that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for Chris? One down from Hayden Pickering down here.
I'm really pleased you mentioned the hack days. We were talking about you were talking about how obviously there's a diversity problem perhaps in some areas of our industry. We want to find ways of solving that. Hack days are not a way of solving that. I'm wondering if there's anything that a hack day can solve. I hear about accessibility hack days sometimes, and I like the idea in principle, but it feels like it's siloing maybe to just focus on that area when it should just be part of good design. Have you ever seen successful hack days achieve good things?
Yeah, there were a few. In Spotify, I've been at a diversity event that basically just said diversity. It didn't say anything like bring more women into IT or something like that. And it was a lot about training people about unconscious bias, like decisions we make without realizing them and things we disregard without realizing them. We never looked at them, we just disregard them because they feel wrong. And I think culture hack days or culture hacking inside companies is a very important thing to do. What I try to organize, and I did to a degree, is go into recruitment agencies and do brown bags with them and explain to them what is in job descriptions that pisses us off to no end that we would never apply for that job. You know, how come that we're asked for 5 years experience and a half-year-old technology? And we're angry at recruiters and we're shouting at them instead of helping them and making them understand that there was just a mistake. Like, when I get a job offer, I shouldn't be annoyed by that. I should feel privileged and I should feel happy about this. So when you find something that annoys you, that nobody understands, talk to that group of people rather than just like making a software that helps them.
Yeah, so it's hacking the culture more than just the code is an important thing, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that when there was this article about homeless people in San Francisco, and I was putting that on Twitter, and then the mayor of San Francisco office, probably is a social media consultant, was like, oh yeah, we're solving the homeless problem by having a hackathon about this. And I'm like, yeah, because our 19-year-old, totally privileged white kids will know the problems of homeless people and will write code that fixes it for them if the homeless people have an iPhone. You know, it's like if we're so far removed from the problems we try to solve, maybe getting dirty and getting out there and understanding people's problems is the way to fix them.
Excellent. Give it up for Microsoft. Christian.